All right, a lot is happening on the political landscape on this particular day, March 11th, 2025. So it's time for World Politics, and we'll be seeing who joins us on this show and all along those lines. But the House plans to vote to avert a government shutdown early in Trump's term. So definitely, folks will be talking about that as the House GOP is one step closer to passing a stopgap funding bill and all along those lines. So Republicans had advanced a government funding bill despite the Democratic opposition. So that is something that folks will be talking about on the political landscape. And definitely there is a hearing for Columbia student Mahmoud Galil to address basic constitutional questions. So some folks are asking who is Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist detained by ICE over Columbia University. And White House claims Columbia is blocking the hunt for pro-Hamas protesters. So Rubio is reserving the right to revoke the green card or visa of anti-Israeli activist Mahmoud Galil. And the U.S. has agreed to resume military assistance to Ukraine. So there's no military solution to this war. Rubio announces Ukraine's acceptance of a potential ceasefire. U.S. and Ukraine call for a 30-day ceasefire following the Saudi talks. U.S. resumes military aid and intelligence sharing as Ukraine says it is open to a 30-day ceasefire. So there may be a ceasefire taking place in this particular conflict. And Trump is imposing new Canadian tariffs, then reverses them. So U.S. makes concessions, dropping additional 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that is something that is coming out of Ontario and all along those lines. So Trump doubles tariffs on Canadian metals, causing Ontario to back down on electricity price hikes. And that's something that is going on as we're having these tariff wars as well. And there's a serious safety issue. Investigators say following a DCA mid-air collision. So DCA plane crash, NTSB, calls for immediate changes at Reagan Airport. Intolerable risk after DCA crash, NTSB recommends permanent change to the helicopter route. So definitely we're seeing some things going on in that space as well. And federal judges are pushing back on calls for impeaching jurists who rule against Trump. Federal judges raise alarm about security threats and impeachment calls. Trump appointed judge quits judicial group over warning about threats. So James Hu quits the judge group and all along those lines over statements against threats and all in that kind of way. So that's something else that we're seeing in the news as well. And U.S. aid official orders employees to shred or burn classified and personnel information. So U.S. aid employees told to destroy classified documents is what an email is showing. So paper shredders and burn bags. The vandalism of U.S. aid is nearly complete, according to an article in the Rolling Stone. So there's a number of things going on in that way as well. And the USDA has canceled $1 billion in local food purchasing for school and food banks. Trump is freezing $1 billion in food aid given to local schools and food banks to help low-income families. So the USDA has cut more than $1 billion in local food purchases for schools and the food banks. So that would definitely be impacting a lot of folks as well. And of course, there's still continuing news about the uh, Sudica Shah Kanaka disappearance. The clothing of the missing American student has been found on the beach, and the FBI is joining the search for the U.S. college student who vanished in the Dominican Republic on spring break. And definitely that is something that folks are concerned about. An American college student missing in the Dominican Republic. They're saying that they didn't drown, according to what Natalie Holloway's private eye believes, and all along those lines. And Trump makes a flurry of posts as global markets fall amid fears of a U.S. recession. So they're definitely talking about a U.S. recession as well. So definitely lots going on in that way and in that space also. So definitely a lot going on in the world as we continue to talk about things that are taking place in the world on world politics. And we'll see who joins us and if anybody comes and joins the other conversation. Former Philippine President Duterte forced into a plane to The Hague after the ICC arrest, his daughter says. Duterte arrest shows powers and limits of the International Criminal Court. So definitely it looks like Rodrigo Duterte's downfall marks a dramatic end to the Philippines' power struggle. And definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. And the BBC is verifying that they examined moments before cargo ship and oil tanker collision, and a man has been arrested in connection with the tanker container ship collision in the North Sea. Cargo ship captain arrested after the oil tanker collision in North Sea, as experts warn coming hours are critical. Jet fuel has spilled into the North Sea, and some folks are saying that this could be an environmental disaster. And the European Union has decided to rearm. Dutch parliament urges government not to join the EU defense plan, and Trump wants Europe to defend itself, and that was reported in the New York Times. EU chief says member countries must use a new defense loan to buy, looks like European safety, and all along those lines. And the Pakistani insurgents attack a train carrying hundreds of people and take hostages. Militants killed 10 people after hijacking a passenger train and taking those hostages. So definitely that is something that we're seeing in that part of the world as well. And religious slaughter in Syria shows the need for the U.S. and Europe to keep a close eye on Islamist regime, according to the Greek foreign minister. And Syrian ethnic tensions erupt in deadly clashes, questioning Europe's sanctions lift. And Europe weighs peacekeeping role in Ukraine amid Trump's embrace of Russia. So Europe steps up to fund its own defense, provide security for Ukraine after the Trump threat. And deterrence is a key issue, as army chiefs from 30 plus countries are talking about what they should do in terms of supporting Ukraine. In a rare meeting without U.S. allies, Western army chiefs meet to show Ukraine unity. So that is something that folks will be talking about as well. And moving Palestinians out of Gaza, Trump's idea takes on a life of its own in Israel. Amid efforts to obscure it, soldiers' burden and doubts hinder Israel's conquest of Gaza. Israel's far-right minister says Trump's plan to displace Gazians is taking shape. And Smotrich says the government is establishing migration administration for Gaza exodus. And it looks like J.D. Vance and Elon Musk are weighing in on Romania's politics. Barred from Romania's presidential election rerun, Calan Georgescu appeals decision at the top court. And in Romania, the far right has unleashed a tide of hate and resurrected our fascist ghost, is what Andrei Papavecchio says in The Guardian. So we'll see if folks agree or disagree with that. And like I said earlier, only 7 countries met the WHO air quality standards in 2024. Data shows India had 6 of the world's 10 most polluted cities. So 10 of the most polluted cities, 6 of them belong to India, according to the report. But there are only 7 countries worldwide meet the WHO dirty air guidelines, according to the study that is out now. And Hamas and Israeli teams in Doha as Gaza ceasefire talks are resuming. So Israeli at war, day 522. IDF strike in Gaza targets persons gathering intelligence on Israeli soldiers. Israeli fire kills 4 Palestinians in Gaza amid new ceasefire talks. So it does look like there are talks about ceasefires in both of these conflicts, both in Gaza and in Ukraine. So we'll see how this all plays out. And Forbes says that Ukrainian brigades appear to be evacuating Kursk, and Ukraine has agreed to accept a U.S. 30-day ceasefire proposal. So General denies Russian forces are encircling troops, and that was reported in Al Jazeera English and all along those lines. So definitely a lot going on there, as the EU is planning to deport more migrants and create return hubs. So Europe is cracking down on migration. The far right is cheering, according to Politico Europe. The EU has laid groundwork for deportation centers in distant countries, and the EU plans to deport more people, will lead to prolonged detention, according to some critics. And it looks like Ukraine has hit a major Russian refinery in a massive drone attack. Ukraine says its drones hit a major oil refinery in Moscow. Putin is unwilling to compromise on Ukraine, according to some reports, and sets maximalist demands, according to Bloomberg. Ukraine says it struck oil facilities in Russia's Moscow Oryol region. So definitely we'll be seeing things on that as well. And the Dalai Lama is saying his successor will be born outside China. We will be born in a free world. Dalai Lama declares his successor will be born outside China, but Beijing is countering. So Dalai Lama is saying that his hope for the Tibetan people and China, and he's expressing that in a opinion piece in the Washington Post, that China is slamming Dalai Lama, saying that Beijing will choose the Buddhist leader's successor. So this is something that's going on in the world as well. And high rate of army dropouts pushes German forces to breaking point. German military is facing a massive shortage of soldiers, and Germany's military is struggling as Trump tests NATO, according to a report. So German military buildup continues, but personnel shortage remains. So definitely that is something else that folks are talking about on the political landscape. And Uganda says it has deployed troops in South Sudan's capital. Uganda deploys troops in South Sudan as civil war fears grow. And a UPDF spokesman confirms deployment of troops in South Sudan. Uganda deploys forces to Juba, military chief says, in that area as well. So definitely that is something that folks are paying to as well. And of course, they're still paying attention to what was going on in Australia as a cache of explosives in Sydney provoked anti-Semitic terrorism fears, but police are saying that that was actually a fake terror plot. So a wave of Sydney attacks, including explosive caravan plots planned by organized crime ring, and Australian police are saying a seemingly anti-Semitic terrorism incidences were really criminal conduct. Just so chaos and all along those lines. Excuse me. I'm going to get to some advertisement and I'll be right back with some more news, and hopefully some folks will be joining me as well.
Looking at this the right way or not. So if y'all see me out in public or in one of my cars and I had a R. Kelly flag flapping from my car, or a Bill Cosby hat on, or R. Kelly shirt, or a Harvey Weinstein sign in my yard on my lawn, or a Diddy flag hanging from my house, or my car was wrapped in Diddy, or Harvey Weinstein bumper sticker, what would be the message y'all think I'm trying to send to you? Exactly. You would think I'm publicly and unapologetically standing in solidarity with all of the things that's been associated with this particular individual, whether they've been accusations, whether they've been what they've been found guilty of, etc., etc. You wouldn't think, oh, maybe he has that R. Kelly flag flapping from his car because he's just celebrating the charity work he's done in the community. Or maybe he has that flag flapping from his car, the R. Kelly flag, because he's just celebrating the amount of albums he sold. You wouldn't think that. You would immediately think of all the bad things associated with that particular individual. So when I see you with your MAGA hat on, or your Trump flag flapping from your car, or the Trump sign in your yard, or your Trump flag hanging off your house, or your car wrapped in Trump, or your Trump bumper sticker, or your MAGA shirt, I should think you're standing in solidarity too with all the bad things that he represents, correct? You don't get to say, no, I just like his policies, or I'm a patriot. No. I should think you don't like Haitians too. I should think you down with Project 2025 too. I should think you don't like free or fair elections too. I should think you don't like immigrants too. I should think all the things that he's been associated with and found guilty with, you stand for that too. Because if I was on here right now with an R. Kelly shirt or a Bill Cosby hat, you would link me to that too, correct?
Well, that was an interesting piece. I had to get some drinks to actually get my throat going and everything like that. But Sasha, it looks like we might be having some ceasefires on both situations. So I know you're following both cases, and I did hear, and I reported this earlier on the World Politics, that it looks like there may be a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, and there may be some ceasefire talks, or we've been having ceasefire talks going on in Israel. So does this mean that the wars are coming to an end, and what is your take? Because this all came down after your show, which was earlier today and everything, but apparently there are some agreements. I know Zelensky wasn't there and everything. So will we be having this 30-day break in violence?
Well, the news are coming all the time from different sources, and I can't really put together a picture of what is agreement, the 30 days ceasefire. complete ceasefire for 30 days. Okay, that's not so bad. And now Russia has to make their agreement to do exactly the same thing, because if Russia will refuse, and this agreement is not even a piece of paper, it's just nothing. So we'll see what Russia will have to say. I could predict, though, that Russia will put several conditions to that, which will be undoable, and therefore the ceasefire will not materialize. But again, let's see. I'm not going to run ahead of myself, and let's just deal to go and to take its course and figure out really what's happening here.
That makes sense. What do you think of the conditions would be? You spent some time in the Soviet army, and you definitely follow Putin and study his actions and everything. So, what kind of conditions do you think that they will place on this ceasefire?
Well, let's start with the territories. They would ask Ukrainians to move their troops from the four regions that they want to get from Ukraine as a result of a peace, and to clear them up, even those parts of these territories that Russia has not been able to actually take control over with. That even those parts, and Ukraine will never ever agree to that. So let's see how this will be played. Then the usual stuff that there will be no peacekeeping force, especially from Europe. That there will be demilitarization of Ukraine and reduce its army to 60, maybe 80,000 people, which would made it incapable of resist to further Russian aggressions. And who knows, and maybe he'll come up with something else that we're not aware of. But obviously there will be some demands from Putin.
Definitely some demands. One of the things I know you talked about on this show, as well as the World Edition, is the fact that Ukraine has definitely stood fast against Russia and everything. But apparently, one of the countries that is seen as a European leader, at least historically was a European leader, is running into its own problems. And I just wondered if you had heard anything about this, because before you came on, I was talking about the German military, and apparently they are struggling, and they're saying that there's a high rate of army dropouts, pushing Germany's forces to the breaking point. So apparently Germany has a massive shortage of soldiers, and I don't know if they have the draft in Germany or how Germany does that and everything. And this, of course, is the Germany that is our ally, not the other Germany and everything. But definitely, what is your take on Germany's military buildup and this personnel shortage that they have? And is that a problem throughout NATO? Is it something that England, France, and Poland would also run across? Because when I saw that, I was going like, and I know you've even brought up a couple times on this show this notion that America needs to bring the draft back and everything. So is this a problem that is across the world, particularly in the European and North American spheres?
I'm not aware of this problem really, especially in Germany. This is something new. And if that's the case, they must explain to people why the defense of their country is very, very important, and argue that those who would avoid providing military service, there will be consequences, including jail time, and maybe that could work actually, because the countries which don't defend their territory, sooner or later there will be big losers. And the fact that they disagree to provide service to their country is very bad news for Germany. What can you say?
You know what I'm saying? Very bad news and everything. I know that Trump has touted William McKinley, another past president. He's saying that William McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs. So he's a big fan of tariffs, and particularly those tariffs, because he's been touting what they call the Gilded Age tariffs, an era which saw industrial growth, but also had some severe poverty and everything. So what is your take on what's going on with the tariffs? Because I've heard that they have kind of like come up to an agreement even with Canada, where they will now kind of back off of each other's tariffs. I had reported that before you came on. as well. So, are we going to see this tariff war continue, or is it going to slow down? Because it does look like they have come up with some concessions, maybe even having the power turned back on. Because I know that Ontario has a control of a lot of the Midwest electricity and everything like that. So, what's your take on what's going on with the tariff war?
Well, Canada is a very special case because not only economic considerations here, but also the plan of Trump to make Canada 51st province, not province, but state of United States. So he wants to make Canadians' life so miserable with all the tariffs going on, going out. See, even if the tariffs were announced, but they didn't go in full force or were cancelled, the damage is already been done. Because now, as I said on different other program, I have a friend of mine in automotive industries, and once the tariffs of 25% were announced, the American customers immediately started to look for another source because even the same day this was postponed for a month, but again, months is a month, and then there will be instituted again. So they have to find, and they stop making orders to my friend's company, and they're looking here and there for suppliers, and he is not aware if they found something, and that suppliers maybe not as. He remembers that Canadian orders, because of the difference in dollar value between the US and Canada. So his business was thriving quite a bit because of the everything is for American becoming cheaper because of the Canadian dollar. But because of the tariffs now, all things are not working the right way. Now they were canceled, but business is not as usual. The business is changing. So the damage is being done. So I think if I'm Ford, I don't know what make him to change his mind. I have no idea, but I thought that he would keep the action at least for a few weeks and, to see what's happened.
We'll see after see
Overall, it's a losing game for the United States because he is making that almost as a routine. That okay, I get up today in the morning and I feel like I want to put some tariffs on Canada. Who else is there? Mexico, maybe France, or maybe Denmark because they are not giving me Greenland. Who else? Germany is not a very good country. Well, you know what? I'll say everybody will be tariffed 25%. Some offenders will be tariffed at 50%. And what do you think will be resolved? Because if it's such a beautiful thing, why he hasn't done it yet?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. He definitely keeps threatening these tariffs and everything. I know you just came back not that long ago from a trip to the islands, Aruba to be exact, and everything. But there's this concern. I know Kim has brought it up, even though she's actually traveling now. I think she's in Houston and everything. But how concerned are you about plane travel and plane safety? I told you that it was the one plane I went on when we went down to Miami. I did notice that there were some small parts that were flapping in the wind and everything. They didn't seem like they were hurting the plane, but one can still get worried and everything. And now they're saying that there are serious safety issues, and investigators are saying this following a DCA mid-air collision. So there was another mid-air collision on today and everything, and they're calling for immediate changes at the Reagan Airport. So what's your take on plane safety? And when you get on a plane, how concerned are you about your own safety?
Good question. You see, the problem is, even if you're flying in business class and it's it's a flight that comes in and out like almost every day between destinations, the risk is still there. And if a plane will go down, passengers in business class will go just as well as economy class. So that's not a safety precaution at all. It makes the flight more comfortable, and but other than that, it's not much safer than the economy class. So I really don't know what else. You can travel by train maybe instead. Maybe that's a safer option. But you can do it in Europe. In Europe, they have fantastic rail services. And another advantage is you're coming from Midtown, let's see, downtown, if you want to call it. They don't have downtown really there in Europe. They have midtown, for example, the railway station, and you're going somewhere else to another place, another country, and you're arriving also at Central Station, which is in the center of town, and you don't have to drive to the airport and check in 2 hours before the flight and so on. So in Europe, train is a beautiful service. Now in the United States, it's a different situation.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that and everything. But the only issue with trains is that trains can also be hijacked and everything, because that's what happened in Pakistan and everything. Apparently, some insurgents attacked a train, and I do remember being a fan of westerns. This notion of trains oftentimes being hijacked in the old west, but I guess that they can still be hijacked even today and everything. So that would be my concern with a train. I mean, I'm thinking hobos can even still jump on a train if they want to go from one city to another and bum from one city to another, but that's not going to put your life in jeopardy, I don't think, depending on what the hobos are doing. But definitely these militant type folks that apparently did this in Pakistan, and apparently they had 400 on board, and they gave an ultimatum. So, would that be something you'd be concerned with, trains and everything, that trains can be hijacked just like a plane can be hijacked?
Well, there must be a reason why Pakistan is not on the list of countries that I'm going to travel in the near future. Train or automobile or anything, whatever you'll do in Pakistan, it's at your risk, and unless you have the reason that travel to Pakistan is absolutely unavoidable, then there is no need for you to be there.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can avoid places that can be dangerous and everything. You know, one of the things that I mentioned before you got here was that the USDA, and we've been seeing all these cuts in various agencies, but apparently they're cutting more than 1 billion in local food purchases for schools and food banks. And I know a lot of people, including a lot of school kids, depend on that money in order to get their uh, daily vitamins, their daily food intake, and everything like that. So it's just wondering your thoughts on this, because that seems like a lot of money to be impacting a lot of folks, and of course it will mostly impact low income families. But what's your notion on this? Is this another example of Trump not really caring about the poor people and the middle class, and he's like basically like, deal with it and just kind of get over whatever's going on? It's not my responsibility to take care of you.
Well, Trump he cares only about himself. That's quite obvious, and I'm surprised that the American people had a chance to see what is Trump is all about, and they see first term from 2017 to 2021, and they saw the impeachment, they saw the uprising of January 6th, and all these lawsuits against him, and so on. And it seems to me that they were so disenchanted with Democrats, whether it's Harris or Biden or both of them. So they preferred, okay, let's have this criminal, this idiot. It's lesser evil than the Democrats. Can you imagine that? How low the Democrats had to go to get American people elect a person like Trump. But that's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, they had to go real low and everything like that. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, you talked about places you would not go visit, but there are places that are seen as being exotic and seen as being wonderful places, but even they have their issues and everything, because we know that there is this student that has disappeared in the Dominican Republic, and I know some people that have said beautiful things about the Dominican Republic, about Belize, about Costa Rica, and some of these other countries that sometimes have problems, even problems with the drug trade, because I've even heard some good things said about certain Mexico cities, not all Mexico cities, but certain Mexico cities. So are they not on your list as well? Because apparently they're still trying to find this student that vanished in the Dominican Republic. And I know that my cousin, of course, he had the advantage of being a GBI officer. He used to say great things about the DR, and he really enjoyed the DR and thought it was a beautiful country and everything. But even the beautiful countries can have problems. I imagine there's even problems on occasion in Aruba and everything, even though I don't know what those problems would be, because it sounds like a very exotic environment and everything. So are those good places running into problems too?
Okay, you're talking about Dominican Republic, Mexico, some Belize, some other stuff. Obviously, you don't go there unless you're going the best 5 stars property, which you are going from the airport directly to that property and stay there for a week or two without going out anywhere, and then coming back to the airport and flying back. That's the only option. Even that's not 100% safe, but close to that. Now, if you're going to just on your own to stay in some hotel and just experience local life, like many dreaming about in places like Costa Rica or Cuba or some others. See, the problem is that well, I'm talking about myself, but most of people, they look differently from the local population. So you are a prey for pickpockets, for vandals, for criminals of all kinds somehow to get to you and get your money, or maybe even kill you, or maybe something else. Just why do you need that? I mean, if you want to die, then it might be the easiest way to get killed and just go there and enjoy. But if you want to stay alive, you just don't go to this places, period. In Aruba, I'm going to 5 stars properties. They're very comfortable, they're very safe. Again, I'm not suggesting it's 100% guaranteed, but close to that at least. And generally, Aruba is a very peaceful island. I would go out in Aruba. I wouldn't stay all the time in the same hotel. I would go out to the casino, maybe to some shopping here and there. But I would take a cab, and the cabs are very inexpensive there, very friendly, very efficient. So this is what I understand, and that's why I wouldn't go anywhere else.
That makes a lot of sense. You can just go to places that are safe and everything. I did learn something after your Ukraine, Russia, China show and everything, because one of your guests made an appearance, but he made it after you had left and everything, because apparently they have a different situation with daylight savings time and everything. So I was over there talking to Nick and Jonathan after your show, and Ivan popped in. So apparently he said he will be on time next week because he had gotten confused with the daylight savings time. So he did make an appearance, but he was not remembering the time frame and all along those lines.
I reminded him in my email when I sent him a link. I reminded him that we change our clock 1 hour ahead. What else can I do? How else can I deal with that? Huh?
That's all you can do. You can only remind him if he doesn't follow orders. That's on him and everything. Because I know that you are very efficient. You are very efficient in everything that you do. So I figured you had sent him a reminder saying, "Look, that you instead of it being 6 o'clock, it'll be 5 o'clock." I think it was his time and everything. But I know that you are very efficient in what you do and all along those lines. And we talked about the ceasefire with Ukraine and your speculations on that. How long do you think the ceasefire will hold up on the Israel? Because that's the other ceasefire that people are talking about, because apparently that ceasefire is in effect. The other one is still being negotiated and everything. And ironically, they're both negotiating in the Middle East.
Israel, what it's all about? That both sides will stop any fire? Why?
That's what it's supposed to be. That both sides are supposed to stop fire. They're supposed to allow humanitarian aid through to like Gaza and stuff like that, and there's supposed to be some other things, but yeah, there's supposed to be
why would Israel agree to that? What's in it for Israel?
That's what I couldn't figure out either. So I was wondering if you had some speculation, but apparently it's in effect and everything. I guess maybe Trump, who likes to play bargaining guy, is trying to have some bargaining power with Netanyahu. I'm not sure what Trump's view of Netanyahu is. I know that he is a friend of Putin and everything, but I don't know whether he is a friend of the Israeli leadership and everything, or whether he wants new leadership. So what is your take on the U.S. government's stance on Israel under the Trump administration? I haven't really got a feel for it. Maybe you've got an idea as one that studies this region.
I'll tell you, Mark, I had a friend of mine many years ago when I was active in a business and so on. He had one interesting business, and he wanted to either get investment or sell it. and he started talks with a guy. He's deceased now for several years, but I knew that guy and what he is. He is a little bit Trump in miniature. And I told my friend, stop any contacts with this person. There is no win situation for you. Because even if you think that you are making some kind of plausible deal, which would be agreeable to you, 2.5 minutes before signing, he will change conditions. He will add something else. You will never, ever will get any results from him. It will be frustration. Furthermore, the more he will learn about your business, the more difficult for you will be to function. He will start, because the deal will definitely not go through, so he will start making a lot of problems for you. He will talk to your competitors. He will talk to your customers. There are some people who are extremely dangerous. They're vindictive. They're evil. And you should never, ever to deal with these people. Same thing what Ukraine, what Israel, they will learn a hard way how to not to deal with such people who Trump obviously is.
Yeah, Trump's definitely one of those kind of folks and everything. I know we brought it up in past shows and wanted your thoughts around this, but are we heading toward that recession? Because I did see that, and I know you'll be talking about it tomorrow on Modern Investment, but the Dow did drop more than 450 points of the S&P 500, which I know Milan is a big fan of. Apparently is posted back-to-back losses over the Trump tariffs and everything like that, but they did say the stock closed out a volatile day as investors say market is sick and tired of Trump tariff chaos. So is this chaos impacting the market? And if so, how long will it impact the market? And should we be concerned about its impact on the market?
Yes, unfortunate situation with the market is very, very serious, and there is no any way out of the situation where we are all now. The market I think there will be a very short bounce in the next couple of days or so, and then the damage will become unbearable. I'll tell you, I just bought some stocks today just to play this bounce, but I don't want to have more than, say, 2, maximum 3 days. Actually, 2 days more than enough. Say tomorrow will be plus day, and Thursday maybe will be a spillover. Then Friday it will go down, and then it will go down probably 30-40%, and it already went down quite considerably. So there will be a huge damage. So right now, all you can do is sell everything. Just don't hold anything. It's not going to do very well for you if you're about to hold. There's nothing you can hold. Absolutely nothing. Even safe places like gold. What else? Some dividend paying stocks. Okay, I keep dividend paying stocks in my core portfolio, and I'm not changing that. But I'm not trading this. It's just like, but trading stuff, you just sell everything. Absolutely, go to zero. So you will have cash and zero positions. Just wait. Market will collapse, and only then, when you will see that there is some kind of reversal on market may start going a little bit higher, you can put some positions, not large position, but some small here and there. But don't touch it until it will completely. See, there has to be capitulation of people. A lot of people are hiding, they're holding stocks, they're taking losses, they're getting margin calls, they're bringing more money, they're fighting that, and it's not the way to do it. You will lose everything. You will have to start moving your furniture out of your house to sell it in order to keep the position. No, it's not going to help you at all. You have to completely sell everything, get into cash, and wait until maybe it will take 4 or 5 months, maybe longer, maybe not so long, but only when you see that market is about to even start a very small move on the way up, and you see that, okay, just go ahead, but not.
Well, it looks like Trump is trying to help his buddy because it looks like Tesla stock surged on today after a major sell-off, but they did lose 127 billion in a one-day market bloodbath as China car group questioned Musk's pursuit of personal glory. And Trump says he's going to buy a Tesla to support Elon Musk, who is his buddy and everything, whose companies are struggling. He said that earlier today, and he also called Tesla boycott illegal and says he's buying one to support Elon Musk, and he says he will label violence against Tesla dealers, because I know I think Kim mentioned that there were some dealers that were vandalized and everything. He's going to label this as domestic terrorism. So I guess he's trying to defend his friend, and he's going to go out and buy a Tesla. I don't know what other kind of cars he's got. I know he's got all kinds of access to the White House fleet of planes and stuff like that. But I guess he's going to get a Tesla. Maybe he's going to get a Tesla for his son, Barron, as well as some of his other kids, as well as one he's going to drive himself. But he says he's going to go out there and buy a Tesla to support his buddy Elon. So what's your thought about President Trump driving around in a Tesla?
He can do anything what he wants. This is ridiculous, and I don't think he will even fit into Tesla. But beside the point, what actually is a good value today is a used Tesla. They lost incredible amount of value, and you can buy a pretty good used Tesla even as 1 year old, for example, and you can save yourself a bundle if you don't care about driving Tesla. But that's where the money is, and the sales drops like a stone on Tesla. They cannot sell any cars anywhere. Their sales are dropping like a stone, really, and that's an indication what. And it's not that Tesla, it's not because of Tesla is not such a good car. It's a reasonable car. First of all, there are a lot of Chinese electric vehicles which are at least as good as Tesla and much cheaper. And it wouldn't be for the tariffs. The Tesla would end its history many years ago, because the Chinese cars are just at least as good and much cheaper. But because of the tariffs, then Tesla, of course, rules the market or so. But that's not going to help even today. Even those Trump help or no Trump help or anything. Tesla has a very, very good. There will be a short bounce on the stock of Tesla. It may go for a couple of days somewhat higher, and then it will continue its drive down to the basement. It will go probably to $50, maybe $75 a share. It's still almost $230 today. But without earnings, there's nothing behind this number.
Speaking of things behind numbers, and I know you and Jim E were big proponents of this, and I think I've heard you say that you have sold it now and everything, but people are now talking about the collapse of NVIDIA and how cheap NVIDIA is now and everything. So what's going on with NVIDIA? I don't own any NVIDIA stock, but they're saying that it had some wild swings and that Trump could end the AI chips as slump, maybe by purchasing more NVIDIA stock or something like that. So what's your take on what's going on with NVIDIA?
Well, NVIDIA actually bounced a little bit today. NVIDIA is part of high-tech segment of NASDAQ, and the whole market went down big time in the last several sessions. So NVIDIA did. It's not any different from other high-tech stocks. There are some other factors on NVIDIA that all this sort of a game, not changing, but at least it's somewhere like in the middle of the road and can find its way to continue to get more data centers, buying NVIDIA equipment, or maybe there are some other cheaper ways to do that, which nobody knows what they are, but they're talking about it. So that doesn't instill more confidence into NVIDIA shareholders. So right now, NVIDIA is just as risky bet as anything. I would be buying more NVIDIA if it goes down to $70, $75 a share. I would probably get more shares. Not at this level.
Not at this level, you wouldn't do that and everything along those lines. The other thing that people talk about, and it comes down to politics as well, is that they are saying that yesterday, and I think I mentioned it on this show yesterday on World Edition, that there are cyber attacks where people are targeting X as well as targeting other social media outlets as well. So, how concerned are you, as one that follows world politics and just world news, about cyber attacks? Because I know that you watch your TV that's over there in your house there in Canada, but you also pay attention to things on the internet as well. So, how concerned are you, Sasha, about cyber attacks on a global front?
Well, I'm concerned just as everybody else, and hopefully there are some good companies in the United States like CrowdStrike, like Palo Alto Network, that are quite capable to prevent these attacks and at least lessen their result. But I'm not concerned about it because there is very little I can do really one way or another. So I'm just concerned as everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just as concerned as everybody else is, and all along those lines. The other thing that people talked about globally, and I think I mentioned earlier before you got here, that India is notorious for its pollution and everything. But we're in the middle of spring, or at least spring is around the corner. It's not quite officially spring, but it's feeling like about 73, 74 degrees here in Durham, North Carolina, and everything like that. And I think we might hit the 80s tomorrow and everything. So, how concerned are you about the environment, and should we be concerned about some of these pollution levels, whether it's in India or whether it's in other places, or is it just something that we should concern ourselves about because pollution is going to be there whether we want it to or not? So what is your take on this notion of climate change and us being concerned about it on a global standpoint?
I'm not too concerned about pollution. There are some places where pollution is really a bad thing and should be fought with, but it's only certain places. You cannot get all the world saying, okay, we want to have a new world order, there will be no pollution, or so on. That's impossible to do. Especially all countries have to support this position, and it's never going to happen. So therefore, even one country will fight the pollution the best possible way. It's not going to change anything. So, to me,
makes sense that one country can do it, but
it's no factor. I mean, I wouldn't
go ahead.
spend even a minute of my time to worry about something that cannot be done.
But speaking of things that can be done, maybe it can be done. But apparently earlier today, and I know you've been adamantly against this notion and everything, Trump is still bringing up this notion of making Canada the 51st state, because he was talking about the tariffs and he's talking about what he wanted to do. I know he wants to go after Greenland as well. But are you concerned about this? Because even after you left, Jonathan was joking that at some point Sasha may have to answer to Emperor Trump and all along those lines. So do you have any concerns about your beloved country becoming a 51st state? Because apparently earlier today, Trump brought that threat out again that he would like Canada to join the rest of the United States. So what is your take on this? And are you at all concerned that you might have to lose your beloved country where it becomes the 51st state, becoming it before even D.C., or Puerto Rico, which have both been fighting for that status for a number of years?
I'll tell you a little bit funny story. It's an Italian short movie. Mm-hmm. And so imagine it's in Switzerland, and there's a villa, very rich and very expensive. And the nice sport car stops near the villa, and a beautiful, very nice Italian gentleman is with a little case. He knocks at the door, and a beautiful woman opens, and he says, "How can I help you?" And he says, "Oh, listen, I have a very strange situation, and maybe you can help me. And you know what? I have $1 million in this suitcase, and I would like to make a proposition. No offense or anything, but if you will be willing to have nice sex with me, this suitcase with $1 million is yours." So she started to scream, "Who do you think I am? And how you have a chutzpah even to talk about it," and so on. And he says, "But look, if you don't want it, that's okay." He opens a suitcase, and there is indeed $1 million there. So she's becoming a little bit softer and say, well, I never even thought about it, that it would be possible, and so on. But eventually they're going, and they indeed have sex, and he leaves her the suitcase. So if Trump really wants Canada, why he wouldn't make an offer? And there is one offer that I could see will really work. If every Canadian will exchange his or her Canadian dollars to US dollars, one per one, okay? So let's say I have, say, $500,000 Canadian. And for that, I will get instead $500,000 US.
Mm-hmm.
The Canada, in this case, will become the 51st province or state or something else. I can think that a lot of people would consider that, or at least started to think about such a possibility. And if they would say no, how you can say no when you are essentially making your wealth 1.5 times higher than it is over my $500,000. I will get $500,000 US dollars. It's like 750 Canadian. So I have one day $500,000, and next day I have 750,000 Canadian dollars. Why not? Okay, what else I need? Maybe that's not enough. Maybe I want something else. So say it. But when he's talking about, he's like the most kind of devilish beggar who owes $37 trillion, and at the same time he's threatening, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and also this and that. Come on, let's get real, you.
Yeah, I don't get it either, but maybe that same offer could work for Greenland, because I understand the majority of the Greenland people want independence from Denmark, but they don't want to be a subservient to the United States as well. So assuming that he was to get, and this is just speculation, none of us know this because we don't know the mind of Trump, thank goodness, because I don't know that I want to know the mind of Trump and everything. But assuming that he gets Canada, Greenland, and Panama, what would be his fourth or fifth country that he would go after in your mind? Sasha and everything. Is he going to go after Mexico next? Is he going to go after Venezuela? So what do you think he will target next? Those are the three that he has mentioned, which is Greenland, Panama, and your beloved country of Canada. So what would be his fourth or fifth countries that he would target in the Trump world?
I'll tell you that with the people like Trump, you have to immediately stop any contacts with them and just politely say, thank you, we are busy with other things, and don't call us, we'll call you, okay? Bye-bye. There is no win in situations with people like Trump. Simply no win. Even if you're right, 10 times right, 100% right, you cannot win with the people like Trump. That's all.
No, I agree with you. Well, we got to get to the other show, and we'll end this one just a little bit early and everything. But I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and everything. So we'll be back on World Edition tomorrow, and you'll have Modern Investment tomorrow as well. I'm hoping that I'll see Milan, yourself, and Jim Eid. I heard your wife in the background, so I'm thinking it's just about time for dinner for y'all and all along those lines. So we'll catch you on the flip side, but I'll see you on World Edition on tomorrow, as well as the other shows as well. So you have a blessed evening and a great day, and I will see you later on.
Thank you, Mark. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.